In this lesson, we're going to look at the first part of a list of qualifications that have to do with a man's interpersonal character that reflects outwardly. In later lessons, we're going to look at interpersonal relationships and the qualities needed for that. But this is the set of qualifications that help a man develop the traction that he will need for developing those other ones. A man needs to be involved as a lover of good. He needs to be prudent and sensible. He needs to be self-controlled and temperate. Interesting set of characteristics there. If I could put them all together, he's not impulsive. He's in control of his thinking and his actions. He doesn't easily react in a knee-jerk sort of fashion. I think of a time when these came into play in my life, and some lessons are more difficult to learn than others. It came after I had preached a sermon, and I preached my heart out very passionately. And a man came up to me afterwards when no one else was around and began to roundly criticize me for something I had said in the message. He was on the fringe of the church membership, but nonetheless I listened to what he had to say. But somehow I had hit his hot button, and he had something to say to me. I was completely blindsided by the onslaught. He got quite angry. I thought the vessels in his neck were going to burst. It went from being a criticism of what I had said to being a judge of my character. And I could sense my blood begin to boil. My knee-jerk reaction was to put him into his place. How dare he misunderstand me and think that I would even say such a thing? And how could he be so superficial and not even giving me the benefit of the doubt? And furthermore, who was he to be raising his voice like that and treating me in such a poor way? But as I noticed that happening, I also noticed something else, that the Lord began to work in my life. And I sensed that God was telling me to just sit there and listen. What came to my mind was King David, who, when he was fleeing his son out of Jerusalem, when a fellow by the name of Shimei came up and said, get out, you man of bloodshed, you worthless fellow," in 2 Samuel chapter 6. And David's men asked permission to strike that Shimei down, and David said, "Let him alone, let him curse, for the Lord has told him to do that." And so I found myself, wondering, Lord, have you told this man to do this? I wasn't sure, but I knew that I just needed to sit and let him talk. I began to see past his diatribes and his judgments of me, and I could begin to see that if he had actually taken my comments in the sermon that I had given in the way that he had understood them, then I could understand why he was angry at me. Of course, his method for expressing it left much to be desired, but I began to understand where he was coming from. So I just sat back and let him spill it all out while I held my legs back from their knee-jerk reaction. Finally, he ran out of steam and he went quiet. I calmly responded, "I can understand why you're angry with me. If that's what you thought I said and that's what you thought I meant, then you had every right to be angry with me." So I was able to clarify with him in a calm, measured way what I meant. He left, but he still had the head of steam on him when he left. But we were able to deal with this subject and to talk about it as rational human beings. And he left finally, and the situation was somewhat resolved. But the Lord had to teach me there are times when you need to exercise self-control if you're going to be a spiritual leader. You need to keep control of your reactions, to be prudent, to be sensible. So I invite you to take this study seriously so that you can become a person whose personal life and character is under control.